Fix your face, ain't my fault they all be jocking. Keep up. Players only, come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24-karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Second verse for the hustlers, gangsters, bad bitches and your ugly ass friends. I cannot preach, I cannot preach. I gotta show them how I can't get it in. First, take your sip, do your dip, spend your money like money ain't shit. Ooh, ooh, we too fresh. Got to blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed. They ain't ready for me. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they waking up the rocket. Keep up.
Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. I'm Sue Ann Bryant, District Governor-elect from Rotary District 7600, and I hope you've been having a fantastic weekend. There you go. Yeah. So I have the distinct pleasure and honor of introducing to you your final keynote speaker for this weekend. And when I read his bio to try to figure out how to introduce Brian Rusch, I thought, wow, he's got one of the most unique and diversified business and professional backgrounds of anybody I've ever met. And so when you read Brian's bio, you'll realize, like, how is someone who started his professional career in the fashion industry end up working for the Dalai Lama, end up working with Bishop Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Tutu, and then becoming the founding member and now longest-standing member and vice chair, I believe, of Rotary International's Enhancing Participation Engagement Committee. So I'm going to let Brian tell you all of those things. Brian is from the San Francisco Bay Area. He resides there with his husband, Jason, and his pup, Jax. And one thing that Brian said in one of his writings was that in everything I do, I try to remember the South African concept of Ubuntu. Ubuntu, I am because you are, my humanity is bound up in yours, and we can only be human together. So Brian, come talk to us a little bit more about Ubuntu and Rotary.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And I have to say, it is so great to be back here in the DC area. I had the great benefit of being President Francesco's president's rep to the District 7610 and 7620 conference in October. You guys were awesome. You welcomed me and Jason. It was just such a great experience, and I'm so happy to be back here. I've known a lot of you for a really long time, so it's just really fantastic to be almost in my East Coast home is what I'm going to call it for now. Not moving here anytime soon, but I'll come back as often as you invite me. So, I get invited to speak at a lot of events at Rotary, and a lot of it's because of my work with the Nobel Peace Laureates. Also because I've done a lot of work around DEI within Rotary organization. In everything that I do, I try to be as transparent as possible. And so I wanted to start out by talking a little bit about Rotary International's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. After trying to think back, it was 2020, I guess it was. After the murder of George Floyd, Rotary International started the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force, and I was a founding member of that with several other members from around the world. And we were kind of tasked by a variety of affinity groups and races and regions to really represent and study the state of DEI in the Rotary world and where we could go. Our organization, or our committee, then was turned into a group called the Joint Advisory Council on DEI, and we were responsible for advising the board and the trustees on DEI and how it fed into the action plan. Last year, we changed a new name, Enhancing Participant Engagement. And we had a lot of interesting responses to this. Some were really, really positive because they thought we were getting rid of DEI. Some were really, really negative because they thought we were getting rid of DEI. So I want to be very clear, first of all, that diversity has always been one of Rotary's core values, and we are not getting rid of DEI. And in fact, we just met in Evanston. Yes. Really what has happened is that in today's political landscape, especially in North America, the acronym DEI has really been politicized, and a lot of times by people that don't fully understand what it means. And so one of the reasons that we had a shift in the name was to really make sure that we could keep having the conversations around it, but that we could really connect with people and use the language wherever they were in the world. One thing that is very important to know is that DEI is going to continue being used in a lot of the world. The Europeans, for example, have zero interest in using enhancing participant engagement, and that's okay. That turns out the Africans also have zero interest in using enhancing participant engagement. Latin Americans, not so big on using that. So we really encourage you to use the language that is going to connect to the people that you're doing. So if you guys have DEI committees in your clubs or in your districts, please, and you want to keep using DEI, keep using DEI. If you want to call it belonging, please call it belonging. What is the most important is that we're getting the values out there that they're really, really important to the people that we're talking to. You know, as I talk about DEI, first I like to talk about happiness. I used to work for the Dalai Lama, and when I first started doing that, I was working on a film project called Project Happiness. Do I have to stay in a certain place? And Project Happiness, basically we took children from Jos, Nigeria, children from Santa Cruz, California, and children from the Tibetan Children's Village in India. And we had them over a course of a year discuss happiness, how you find it, what you can do, and really how you can spread that and have it throughout your life. We had them meet a lot of interesting people. We had them meet Richie Davidson, who's a neuroscientist who studies brain plasticity and how you can make yourself happier. We had them meet with George Lucas, who really shared the difference about pleasure and joy and how you can achieve those. And at the end of the year, we took all these kids to Dharamshala, India, to sit down with the Dalai Lama. And they asked him a lot of questions and got a lot of really fantastic wisdom from him. And then one of the students spoke up, and they're like, "Your Holiness, how do I find lasting happiness?" And the Dalai Lama looked at him, and then he looked at everybody in the room, and he goes, "I don't know." And then he starts laughing in that way that only the Dalai Lama can laugh. And then he clarified it, and he's like, "I don't know for you. I can tell you how I find lasting happiness. I can tell you how other people go through their life and are able to find happiness, but only you know what is going to give you lasting happiness." And when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's the same thing. I can give you tools that will help you make your clubs more diverse and equitable and inclusive. Rotary can say, this is what you need to do, these are suggestions for how you do it, but you know your clubs, you know your district, and only you can apply what is actually going to make your clubs and districts more inclusive. It's really important that you look at those and you apply those to what you're doing. You know, one thing that is constant, every club is different, but every club can do something to be more inclusive. When I talk about DEI, people get a little freaked out. So one of the things I always like to talk about is money. The website ZipRecruiter says that in Washington, D.C., the median income is $80,000 US per person. In Barcelona, where I spend a big portion of the year, it's $41,000. In New Delhi, it's $3,000 a year. And in Lagos, Nigeria, the median income is $900 per year. Now, who in this room, and you all should know this, because you have to be doing budgets as part of your PE work, how much are you paying in annual dues just to Rotary International? Anybody? It's $82. With the magazine, it comes to about $100. Now, how many people in this area, how much are you do you have any idea how much in Barcelona they're paying to Rotary International? What about in Delhi? And in Lagos? That's right. That means that in every country in the world that Rotary exists, people pay the exact same amount to be a Rotarian. What does that do? That ensures that in a lot of parts of the world, only the very, very wealthy can be Rotarians. Now, I started a club during the pandemic called the Rotary Club for Global Action. It's an e-club that is, my goal was, for me, Rotary's always been about community, and my community is an international community. So what if I brought people from all over the world to come into one e-club, and we could be of service together? So that's what I did. And today, we have 52 members in 32 countries around the world. But when I started that, I thought about this thing about income, and I wanted to start removing obstacles, including dues and financial obstacles, so that people could be Rotarians. So one of the things that we did is that if we have a member, whether it be because they live in an area of the world where they don't make enough money to be in Rotary, or maybe they're going through some hardship and they just can't afford it. They lost their job or they had an unexpected thing. My club sponsors them, no questions asked. Now, we do this through a lot of ways, but it's important. We felt to say that, you know what, because we all live by the four-way test, if you come to us and you say, I cannot afford dues right now, but I want to remain being of service, then we should make it happen so that you can remain being in the club. During the pandemic, my club was able to install hand washing stations in 4 high schools throughout Kenya. We provided reusable menstrual kits to over 700 girls in Kenya. Each month of the pandemic, my club delivered 4,000 kilos of food to people who were not able to leave their homes in Delhi. We provided vocational and financial support and training assistance to entrepreneurs in Nigeria. And we helped provide enough syringes to vaccinate the entire population of Cuba. Now, you might ask, am I telling you all this just so I can brag about my club? 100%. But I'm also telling you this because every single one of these projects was led by a sponsored Rotarian. Somebody who could not afford to pay dues took the initiative to make sure that they could be of service and to make sure that our club was continuing to be of service when we couldn't be out there doing things. You know, I tell that story, and then I also like to think back to several years ago when President Jennifer was president. She did the People of Action Awards Champions of Inclusion. And one of those champions was Sarita. Sarita's from India. She makes about 150 US per year, or per month. There's no way she could be in Rotary in India. But because we were able to sponsor her, not only was she able to be a Rotarian, she was one of the 6 people who was a People of Action Champions of Inclusion. That's the impact that we can have when we start looking at how we can do Rotary different, how we can make differences and be more inclusive of people in our clubs. In 2018, 2019, I was working with the Vatican on some human trafficking stuff, anti-trafficking stuff. We were documenting the work of the Talitha Cum nuns, who basically work to help women who have been trafficked and give them a new opportunities in life. And when I started this project, one of the people that was involved came up to me, somebody that I worked with, and I was told that I shouldn't be too gay. And I was like, you don't want me to act too gay. So here's the thing. First of all, I am not acting. I am legitimately this gay. And I realized that this was just like a really, for them, they were putting some things on me that they felt was that I shouldn't be doing. And so I decided, you know what, this work is important. It's an opportunity to work with the Pope. I'm going to do this because I want to make sure that we have this thing. And so I kind of tempered who I was as a person to be able to do this work. And I was wrong. I was wrong to do that. I left that job because of several reasons, but this was one of the main ones. And interestingly enough, in 2020, I was hired by Nobel Peace Laureate Kailash Satyarthi to bring together all of the world's leaders to have us put out a statement, all the world's faith leaders, on how we need to start allocating a percentage of the money that was going for COVID response to children around the world. And I was working with all of the major faith leaders, including the Dalai Lama, including the Pope, all these same people that I was working with before. And those of you that know me for a while, I had pink hair at the time, and I just didn't care anymore. And nobody had a problem with it. And I realized that it was because I was being my authentic self and showing up to do the job that I knew how to do. That's what they wanted. They didn't care so much about who I was sleeping with, what I was doing, and how I presented myself. They cared that I could get the job done. And I think that when we start looking about when we're working with people in our clubs, we need to look at that. We need to stop having this hyper-focused image of what a Rotarian looks like. And if somebody shows up and they're covered in tattoos and they're pierced, they might be one of the best people of service that you've ever met in your life. And you might want to get them in your club. You know, I've been friends with past President Jennifer Jones for a really long time. And I met her in Hawaii before she was... This is really annoying. Can I just go to this? Is this better? Yeah, we're just going to go here. Sorry about that, you guys. And as many of you know, Jennifer was the first woman to be president in 118 years in the organization. And a lot of people were asking at the time, why did it take so long? But the reality is that until Sylvia Whitlock became the first female president of a Rotary Club in '87, we didn't have anybody. And the pathway to leadership for women was blocked for a very long time. So Jennifer, when she became president, was one of a very small group of women, some of them in this room, who were qualified to be president. And you know, it was interesting because when she did become president, as I said, I've known Jen a long time, and I know her very well. And she was definitely in the space where she couldn't be too feminine. She definitely couldn't be sexy. And she definitely was like not talking about being the first woman when she first started. It was one of those situations where she would go and she would talk about inclusion and she would talk about all these other things, but this was sort of like this thing that was there that we all knew, but it wasn't something that she was comfortable talking about at first. And it wasn't until she started getting into her year that she started to like meet lots of women and meet people from other groups, from the LGBTQ community, people with disabilities, people that actually said, wow, there are other opportunities for people to be leaders in this organization because of that. And you know, I finally realized that she was having this evolution into her authentic self when in March of 2023, I got a phone call and she's like, oh my God, Brian, I'm gonna meet the king. Now, I know a lot of kings, so I'm just like, which king? She's like, the king, King Charles. And I don't know what to wear. So we like fired off and I got online and I found the dress for her and you know, it was 10 minutes later, it was all resolved. But the moral of this story is, make sure you all get a gay best friend. But also it was really wonderful to finally see her start embracing that she cared about these things, that these things mattered. Because for so long she was wearing that Desperate Housewives dress that we've all seen, that she finally made her get rid of it. And it's a beautiful dress, but we saw it a lot. And I get it, they're traveling a lot. You're in all these countries and you can only have a suitcase this big, and I get it. But it really was when she started to admit that she cared about those things, it's important to be able to see that that evolution was there. Now, you know, an important part of that story is that we don't talk a lot about Nick. Nick is the very first husband of Rotary, and I have a lot of admiration for Nick. Here is somebody who was secure enough in his own masculinity to take a step into a role that had been traditionally a role for women for 118 years. He stepped back from his career to support his wife in this role. And, you know, while we're talking about leaders breaking new ground, I always love to acknowledge Stephanie. And usually I do it when she's not in the room. But for those of you who don't know, Stephanie is the very, very first person in Rotary International's entire history to be elected to the role as a single person. And she spoke a little bit about last night about how, because her family's so small, all of us in Rotary become her family. She approached this role with a unique perspective. And honestly, it was magic. The way that she was able to bring make us all part of her family, because she didn't have a huge family. It was a fantastic opportunity, and it was because she approached this as a single person, as somebody who was in this role in a different capacity than anyone else had ever done it before. These leaders are all important because they are showing us that there is no longer just one way to be the president of our organization. They're showing us that the pathway to leadership is open to all of us. And any of us that are interested, we can start taking those steps. We're evolving, and we need to continue this evolution in the organization. In our 121-year history, we've had very few presidents of color, and Yinka's going to be only the second black president ever in the history of our organization. But it's women, it's the diversity of races and cultures and beliefs and abilities and ages, and even the recognition of our LGBTQ brothers and sisters is exactly that's keeping Rotary relevant today. And that's what's making a successful organization that we are going to continue to be for the next 121 years. It is critical that all of us that don't fit the stereotype of what a Rotarian is, it is critical that we show up and remain steadfast in our authenticity. An important part of how culture is going to evolve is through visibility. Diversity has always been one of our core values, and recently, it's only been recently that we've really started to highlight that. And I promise you, as I said earlier, we are not going back on that. Rotary International's commitment to DEI is unmatched by organizations of similar size and history. With our code of conduct, our statement on DEI, and the many, many educational opportunities on diversity, equity, and inclusion that are in the Learning Center, we are showing our members and we are showing the world that we are truly an inclusive organization. But DEI is not something that we're just going to finish and then move on to the next thing. It has to become part of our culture. It has to become part of your club's cultures. And we need to honestly assess where we are so we can improve and then strive to do so. And it's important to remember that DEI is about more than just membership. In 2024, it was 2024, I was invited to speak on DEI at a district conference in Portugal. And I arrived at the airport, and as I got there, I got a phone call from Director Drew Kessler, who was the director for Northeastern United States at the time. Now, for those of you that don't know, in May of 2023, there was a draconian law that was passed that criminalized homosexuality. And Drew had called me because there was a Rotaractor who was in danger. He was being hunted simply for being gay. Now, this was really hard for me, right? Because this is somebody that, as Stephanie says, is part of our family. And what are we going to do to help our family? So I have a club member who's a human rights attorney for the United Nations, and I had been with her in Geneva the week before, so I called her, and I'm like, Claire, do you know anybody in Uganda? What can we do to help this person? And I boarded my flight. I was in Barcelona at the time. I arrived in Portugal 45 minutes later, and I had a text message from Claire. He's safe. But he was only safe for that night. She's like, we need to do something to make sure that we have the finances available to help him more. So I got on social media and I put out a call to everybody, and Rotarians came and helped support financially so that we could actually provide him a little bit more runway. Then I reached out to the Rotary Network in South Africa because I realized we have to do something to help this guy. And I'll be honest with you, the Rotarians were not very helpful, but the Rotaractors stepped up. We were able to get him, we were able to get him an invitation to speak at an event for Rotaract in Cape Town. When he was there, we were able to allow him to claim asylum. The Rotaractors there helped find a place for him to live. They picked him up at the airport and made sure he had food. And he has his meeting on Monday for his final asylum claim in South Africa. And He is now a member of the Rotary Club of Blauberg in Cape Town, and he started his own Rotaract club based on my club, so it's a virtual club of Rotaractors around the world. This is the power of Rotary in action. This is precisely why we need to be vigilant about DEI. DEI is about more than making sure that we have a diverse membership. It's about making sure that we protect the human rights of every single one of the members of our Rotary human family. You know, DEI is about more than membership, but it's also about membership. And I know that you guys are all trying to figure out how you're going to get more members into your clubs. And you know, as I talk about DEI, a lot of times people ask me like, oh, how do we get more young people, or how do we get more people of color, or people from the LGBTQ community into our clubs? How do we get them involved in Rotary? So let me tell you the first thing is don't just start ticking boxes. Don't be like, oh, we've got a deaf guy, tick, and we've got a young man, tick, and we got a black lesbian, tick, tick, tick. I discovered that the best way that you can really encourage diversity in your clubs is through partnerships and projects. Does your region have a huge ethnic minority population who are underrepresented in your clubs? Don't go and say, hey, come to Rotary, come to Rotary. Go out and partner with that community. Go out and do things in that community and show them how amazing Rotary is and why they should want to be part of your clubs. If you want to engage with the LGBTQ community more, don't say, hey, you've got to come to Rotary, it's going to be great. That's not the way that people are sold anymore. Get out there and volunteer with the community and engage with them so that they see who you are and what your clubs are about, and they will come to you. And you know, while we talk about young people, I also want to talk about Rotaract, because there's a lot of things around the world about you know, Elevate Rotaract, and was it great, was it not great, and why don't they become Rotarians? And so I want to share a story. I was invited to speak at Big West Rotaract a few years ago in Vancouver, and after I spoke, they had all their breakout sessions, and one of the breakout sessions was, how do you deal with Rotarians? I'm like, I'm not missing this. So I go into this, and I'm listening to people complain about, you know, their Rotary club they have to work with and this, that, and the other, and how they're treated like kids and how they don't get to do this. And so I just asked the question, I'm like, well, why don't you become a Rotarian? And across the board in that room, the answer was, I've never been asked. Now think about this, and think about how many Rotaractors you work with, and how many of them have you asked to actually become members of your club? Not to do stuff with your club, not to come to a dinner or a lunch, and or an event and help support something, but how many of you are actually inviting them to participate? You know, when I started the Rotary Club for Global Action, I reached out to every Rotaractor I knew, and I invited them to become a dual member. Now, not did we just get a lot of dual members, but I'm happy to say that the Rotary Club for Global Action is 35% alumni. Youth exchange, Rotaractors, Interactors, Peace Fellows. It's a huge group of people that we have access to that we are underutilizing, that we are not getting engaged with our clubs, and we need to do more to do that. You know, one of the ways that we did it was that we actually waived club and district dues. We covered district dues, and we waived the club dues for all dual members for a period of 3 years or until they turn 30. And it's amazing how many people we've gotten to come join them because of that. And something you need to know is that Rotaractors are connected. 2 years ago, my club held an online fundraiser, and we raised $18,000 in 90 minutes. In 2023, we did a polio walk on the Via de Francesco. So it was 3 people that started in Florence and walked to Rome. And we raised more with the match. We raised $120,000 for Polio Plus as a club. None of this would have been possible without the Rotaractors. They connected each other, and we got connected to all the Rotaractors in Italy, and they all came out and they walked with it was a bunch of older folks, but they walked with them through each city and stop, and they helped fundraise, and then they took it on and they started doing it in New Zealand and in Minneapolis, and they did it in South Africa, raising money on their own, and they started matching the walk steps that they were doing in the regions that they were at to help do this. They are globally connected in a way that so many of us can't even comprehend. And so whether this is dual members or as collaborators on your project, I strongly encourage you to find ways to partner with them. I'm going to get the 23 thing, and then I'm going to see Amelia jumping up and down, telling me to stop. I'm going to go a little over, so don't complain. You know, one of the things that I talked about it with a lot of you earlier today, is about authenticity. But I have to be honest with you, authenticity is a lot easier when you have privilege. You know, being born queer put me in a marginalized group. However, I'm a white dude. I'm not totally unfortunate looking. And I've worked with the late Pope and Britney Spears. So for whatever reason, I keep getting invited to do things. But the reality is if I was a 20-year-old gay black Rotaractor in Kenya, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. And so what I realize is that when I do have these opportunities, I need to use this privilege. I need to be an upstander when I see something that doesn't sit right. And every one of us has some sort of privilege. And most of us in this room have a lot of it. We need to use that privilege to be upstanders as well. Now, I know that with the people I know, sometimes my experience seems unique, but they're really not. I hope that something that I share with you guys resonates, perhaps makes you want to further explore how you can be an ally to others, but also how you can arrive 100% authentically as yourself when you come to the Rotary space, and when you come to any space. We live in a beautifully diverse world, and we need to work together to value that diversity of the human experience so that every single one of us can achieve our own visions of success and prosperity. As all of us move forward to create our own personal legacies, let's do so by remaining authentic to ourselves and by being allies to those that are being authentically themselves. One of my favorite quotes is from my old boss, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He says, "Hope is being able to see that there's light despite the darkness." We have an opportunity, every single one of us. We can be that light in the darkness. And when we work to make the world a better place for others, it also makes it a better place for us. We're all in this together. As it was said earlier, Ubuntu. I am because we are. My humanity is bound up. It is inextricably tied up in yours, and we can only be human together. Thank you, guys.
Brian, that was truly inspiring. On behalf of Chesapeake Pets, we are presenting you with this certificate of appreciation and a donation to the Rotary Foundation was made in your name.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
One of the joys of being a CPETS chair is you get to help shape the programming and the speakers. I think I knocked out of the park this year with 3 freaking awesome speakers, right? Dude. Thank you, Brian. That was incredible, absolutely incredible. And a way to kind of wrap up our programming. We're not done yet. It's not over yet, but our programming for the weekend up here on the stage. But before we wrap, there's a few things we get to do. We have clapped and cheered for our facilitators and all of our dignitaries in the room and our staff that has been here this weekend helping us out. But there's a couple of groups of people we haven't thanked yet. First of all, our Sergeant at Arms. The team that wearing the red vests, if they'll stand up and wave. They have been here helping you find rooms and bathrooms and lost badges and all of the things, and I deeply appreciate the work that you guys do to make things just smooth. And that happens because I call him my wingman, but because Dave Furia, who is plastered with wingman, leads that group, and he's led it for the last 2 years, and I'm just so thankful for that. So is wingman anywhere nearby that we can wave? He's over here. He's over here. So thank you, Dave, for that. Another group of people we haven't thanked yet is our CPETS, our board and planning committee. This happens because there's about 50 people, like herding cats. There's about 50 people on that committee. So if you're on the committee and you're actually still in the room, please stand up and wave and accept this thank you. We literally start today at 2:45. When you guys wrap up at 2:30 and go home, we start at 2:45 today planning next year. That's how quick this goes. So as you have feedback, you're going to receive a survey Sunday, Monday-ish. Please be thoughtful and fill that out. It helps us as we start designing next year's. We want to do it when it's still fresh in your mind, so please make sure you do that so we can include and consider your experiences as part of it. So now it's my honor to invite up Debbie Wall, PDG Debbie Wall, and David Rosenthal. I think Amelia Grace and Bitsy wanted to come up too, if you guys want to come up, because it's time to do some drawings. And I believe they've asked previous Rotary International President Stephanie Yurchuk to do the honors of pulling. And they have, look at all this. How much money are we at?
Oh, I can't tell you yet.
Oh, they can't tell me yet. Because you mathed it.
Because I have to.
Oh, he mathed it.
So check. I got to lower it down too. We need a bigger bowl. That's a good thing.
Woo! Oh my gosh, we do need a bigger bowl. Next
Make
year,
sure they're all out.
double that size bowl.
All right.
On the list, Penny.
So we were talking about this in the back of the room. We don't take credit for what we've just done in the past 36 hours. We don't take enough credit and let the world know that you all have raised $5,290 for polio. With the Gates Foundation match, oh shoot, hold on. Trying to math. With the Gates Foundation match at 60 cents, hold on, I can't math.
Do I need to take off my shoes?
No, you don't have to take off your shoes.
He has trouble with his calculator.
I have different calculators and they do different things.
You want the accountant to take over?
No.
Carry the one.
With the Gates Foundation match at 60 cents per vaccine, we have raised enough to provide 26,450 doses of vaccine. We're going to split the pot 50-50, and so half of that will be going to the foundation. You all are going to get the other half. So,
Okay.
Stephanie gets to pick the winner.
Pick the winner, please, Stephanie.
And I know you.
Mix them up in the bag.
Okay. There it is.
We couldn't have done it.
mixing all
We
day.
couldn't have done as much as we did without these beautiful young ladies here.
Thank you.
They were tenacious, to say the least, to some of you. All right, here's the ticket. 781. Listen to the groans. 781 352. 781-352.
Better check, because I have a bunch. Oh, we got it back here.
There we go. We got a winner. Congratulations.
Please come forward.
Come on up. Got a big envelope here for you.
And there it is. Make sure I mathed it right.
Oh, it's four-way test. 781-352. That's it.
All right.
$2,645 in cash to you.
Awesome. Thank you. To be used to benefit my club, a lot of it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll leave the tickets.
Leave the tickets, why not?
Thanks, Amelia.
Thank you guys both. And thank you to Bitsy and Amelia Grace for being amazing salespeople. And thank you to all of you for emptying your pockets, pulling out your phones and using them to be able to send money electronically. Thank you. Just imagine how many kids that is. That's incredible. Think of 26,000. That just blows my mind. All right. So as we wrap up this session, if you go back in the Wayback Machine to, yesterday at lunch, it does seem like a freaking lifetime ago, let me tell you. But yesterday at lunch, I gave you guys a few challenges. And I hope you accepted them. I hope that you were present and immersed yourself. I've had several folks come up and talk to me and tell me the things that they've been learning and the opportunities that they've had. I hope that you were curious, that you took lots of notes, asked all the questions, and know who to follow up with later to ask the question again until you get to where you need to be and to be able to share that with. I hope you visited all of the booths outside. They will still be open for a little bit longer. Hopefully you found some good speakers for this next year. Maybe you got inspired with a project or 2 or 3 for this next year. I hope you got inspired, either by one of our speakers or your DGE or somebody in the room. Hopefully you got inspired. And hopefully you were inspiring to someone else, that we're all here to learn from each other and to be inspired and inspire others. I hope that you connect with at least one new person that you'll stay in touch with for the next 15, 20, 30 years of your Rotary career. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for being here, for saying yes to your clubs, for saying yes to your districts. I cannot wait to see the fruits of these labors over the years and years and years to come. I just hope you guys have a truly incredible next year. I hope that you go out and really create lasting impact in your communities around the country, but probably most importantly, in yourselves. Take this time this year to really invest in yourself, and that'll pay dividends forever. Thank you all very much, and I will release you. Oh no, I will not release you yet, because Dave is coming up here. Where's my wingman? Oh, he's right. He's in my blind spot, because this light, I'm like, you are the wind beneath my wings. Get up here.
Did you ever know that you're my hero? Everything
Thank you, Amelia. This is a tough act to follow. Short and sweet. Kalulu Wall. You can upload pictures. You can go on, I don't know, my event and pick and choose pictures that you want. Today is the last day of the time, so tomorrow you have to spring ahead. I would do it tonight so that you're ready tomorrow. There's a post meeting today at 2:45, as Amelia mentioned, and that would be in the Jeffersonian 6. Mr. Probster, where are you? Is that correct? Okay. Oh, yes, and make sure you visit our vendors one last time. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all.